but I'm so frustrated.
Unlike the 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, where it was relatively easy to decipher which of Daenerys Targaryen's dragon babies, Drogon, Rhaegal and Viserion, is which, but toss a dozen additional dragons into the mix, and recognizing one fire-breathing beast from another becomes a little more strenuous. And what if you don't even remember the names of the most famous dragons of all? This might be a challenge for audiences of House of the Dragon, especially if they, like me, aren't devoted readers of George R.R. Martin's books. In this video, I will be tracking each of the new dragons as they appear in the House of the Dragon. And I do not promise to avoid all spoilers, the biggest of all I've kept to the end of the video, so be aware. Hi, I'm Ice. Welcome to my channel where I give my takes on all kinds of stuff. I appreciate your follow and subscription. According to few records, the series promises to show at least 17 dragons throughout its seasons. Number 1 is Vhagar, one of the 3 legendary dragons who first conquered Westeros. Vhagar is the largest dragon in the Targaryen's brood, and the show has made sure to show off how intimidating she is in the few aerial scenes she has had so far. In one scene in particular, she appears next to another dragon who looks way smaller than her. Also, Vhagar is the oldest dragon of the ones owned by House Targaryen in the House of the Dragon, and was initially ridden by Visenya Targaryen during the reign of King Aegon I before the series picks up, and it was the subject of one of the most decisive aspects of the conflict and drama in the first season of the House of the Dragon, which I will keep to the last minute of this video, so please don't watch the last minute of this video if you don't want me to reveal the most important scene in the show for you. While Vhagar was ridden by Visenya Targaryen in the past, Princess Lena Velaryon was first to own her in the House of the Dragon timeline. We even see her flying alongside her husband, Prince Daemon Targaryen, as they head back to Pentos. But after Lena passed away through a traumatic birth that put her and her child at risk, she forced Vhagar to end her suffering by incinerating her with the iconic phrase Dracarys. It was not easy for Vhagar to do that. The scene is very strong and emotional. I recommend you go see it. After Lena's funeral, everyone went to their rooms to sleep except for the young Aemon Targaryen, son of the king, and Alicent Hightower, who sneaks out in the middle of the night to try to tame Vhagar. In a move, we're not sure it was a smart move or not, but we know that it would change everything. Surprisingly, instead of burning him alive, Vhagar, the largest dragon in Westeros, let the young boy take control of her. And to avoid spoiling the whole show for you, let me just say that taking the dragon costed Aemon much, but is the cost justified? Is it worth it? I'll leave it for you to decide. Number 2 is Caraxes, the dragon of Prince Daemon Targaryen, the blood wyrm herself, who was considered the fiercest of all young dragons of the dragon pit. Being half the size of the huge Vhagar, Caraxes might not be the biggest dragon, but he's longer than most of the others, thanks to his snake-like neck. He's also got bright red scales, which gives him a very distinct look. Caraxes was originally owned by Aemon Targaryen, the son of King Jaehaerys I, who used Caraxes against the Dornish fleet during the 4th Dornish War, before the prince's death at the hands of Marish pirates. Both Caraxes and Vhagar will meet amid a conflict before they both fall in the God's Eye, which is something we might or might not see in the next season of the House of the Dragon. Number 3 is Syrax. Named after the goddess of Valyria, she was ridden solely by Princess or Queen Rhaenyra, who took her when she was 7 years old. Syrax is a yellow dragon of a similar size to Caraxes, however she is a much younger dragon compared to the likes of Vhagar and Caraxes, but she's no less vicious. Some might think that this was one of the reasons that Daemon backs down when he's confronted on the bridge to Dragonstone. But let's not forget that Rhaenyra was the rider. Syrax laid several eggs during the reign of Viserys I. In fact, it is somewhat implied that the dragons of Rhaenyra's sons all hatched from eggs laid by Syrax, even though we are only sure of one dragon's descending from Syrax, and that is Mourning the Dragon of Rhaena, Rhaenyra's stepdaughter. I will dig deeper into this shortly. Spoiler alert, Rhaenyra fled on Syrax along with her other dragon riders when they assaulted and captured King's Landing with little opposition, something we will likely see in the next season of the House of the Dragon. Number 4, Vermax, a much younger dragon than most of the other dragons in the series, and doesn't tower over people like Vhagar, Caraxes, and Syrax. Although the books did not tell us about his color, we know that as he grew larger and larger every year, he became ill-tempered when in proximity of snow, ice, and cold. In the House of the Dragon, he has green scales and a red spine, but he's not taken to the skies just yet. He is introduced in episode 6 of the show when dragon keepers lead him out to Rhaenyra and Alicent's children. Vermax belongs to Viserys Velaryon, who learns to control the young dragon from the dragon keepers. In one lesson in the show, Vermax responds by roasting a goat on the command Dracarys. Number 5, Seasmoke. It was given to the Velaryon family because Princess Rhaenys Targaryen married Corlys Velaryon, aka the Sea Snake. Seasmoke is a pale silver-gray dragon who was of fighting size during the Dance of the Dragons, the civil war that will happen in the next season, but still a young dragon and nimbler in the air than his older brothers. He was a pivotal weapon in the war for the Stepstones. When he was young, Seasmoke was bonded with Laenor Velaryon, though he had yet to ride him. After Laenor's death, he remained rideless for almost a decade. He was then claimed by Adam of Hull, who was declared to be a bastard son of the late Laenor, though it was rumored that he was truly a bastard of Laenor's father. Eventually, the taint of bastardry was removed by Queen Rhaenyra, and Adam became Sir Adam Velaryon, heir of Driftmark. Seasmoke saved Daemon in the war for the Stepstones when he went up against the Crab Feeder and his forces. Number 6, Meleys the Red Queen. A very large red dragon with scarlet scales and pink membranes on her wings, and her crest, horns, and claws are bright as copper. She has been seen a few times in the House of the Dragon, first showing up as she heads to King's Landing next to Seasmoke and Laenor Velaryon. She was once considered the swiftest dragon in Westeros, easily outpacing Caraxes and Vhagar, but she had grown lazy, though still fearsome when roused. Meleys was initially ridden by Princess Alyssa Targaryen before he was claimed by Princess Rhaenys, who was Laenor's mother and King Viserys I's cousin, as she was mentioned before. In episode 9 in the show, Meleys makes a legendary entrance in the coronation scene. Go watch it. Number 7, Dreamfire. The dragon with silver crests and pale blue wings. He was ridden initially by Rhaena Targaryen, with whom she bonded since before she can be ridden by her. Rhaena was forbidden by her father, King Aenys Targaryen, from taking Dreamfire when she got married, but she reclaimed it again after his death. Dreamfire was only mentioned briefly in the show in the small council meeting during episode 2. Her name is dropped because Daemon steals one of her eggs that was intended for Rhaenyra's baby brother, Balon Targaryen, who died briefly after Queen Aemma gave birth to him in episode 1. After Princess Rhaena's death, spoiler alert, Dreamfire is going to bond with Princess Helena Targaryen, Viserys and Alicent's daughter, who hasn't become a major part of the House of the Dragon yet, but will eventually be the one to ride him by age 11, and she will become a vital part of the Civil War, aka the Dance of the Dragons, that will tear apart House Targaryen. Number 8. Vermithor, a bronze dragon with great tan wings, who is called the Bronze Fury. According to a legend, Vermithor hatched from a dragon's egg that had been placed in the cradle of Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen by his sister Rhaena. Vermithor had accepted Prince Jaehaerys as his rider when Jaehaerys made his claim for the Iron Throne, after which he became King Jaehaerys I. After his death, Vermithor becomes with no riders for a long time, until he was ridden by a blacksmith's bastard called Hammer, who rides him to the battle in the Gullet, where he participates in the destruction of the 90 warships sailing under the banner of the Three Daughters. According to the show, apparently Hugh was killed, because in the House of the Dragon Season 1 finale, Vermithor is introduced as one of the riderless dragons that live in Dragonstone. It is definitely helpful for Rhaenyra and Daemon to have several dragons that could be tamed in time for a coming war. Although Vermithor isn't as big as Vhagar, he's still a towering beast. The finale introduces him when Daemon goes wandering into the caves underneath Dragonstone. Fans who have read Fire and Blood will know that Vermithor will remain riderless for a little longer, but we will likely see him in battles in future seasons. Number 9. Arrax, a puissant white dragon with yellow flame, golden eyes, and a golden chest, who was also introduced in the finale. He is much smaller dragon than many of the others ridden by House Targaryen. He has puissant scales with red spine and a nimble flyer. As seen in the finale, spoiler alert, when he dives through rocky terrain to escape Aemon Targaryen and Vhagar. In this unfortunate scene, Arrax disobeys his rider Prince Velaryon by briefly attacking Vhagar, who also ignores Aemon and responds with brutal force. After chasing Arrax for a while, Vhagar kills the younger dragon and his rider with a single chomp with his massive jaws. It is at that moment that Aemon knew he messed up big, because Vhagar's impulsive violence will be the straw that breaks Rhaenyra's patience and brings her to war. Background story, also a spoiler alert. As you may have known if you have seen the show, Alicent and her children spread the accusation that Rhaenyra's 3 sons were not really Laenor's, but bastards fathered by Sir Harwin Strong. Although this is true, but it cannot be acknowledged publicly as being true by the king, Viserys, or Rhaenyra. And in an effort to confirm that he considered Rhaenyra and her sons the true heirs to the throne, her father, King Viserys II, decreed that a dragon egg would be put in the cradle of each of the boys to bond with the dragons that hatched from them. In spite of that, those who doubted the paternity of Rhaenyra's sons also doubted that the eggs would ever hatch, but they were quickly disappointed, as each of the eggs soon hatched in turn. The hatchlings were named Vermax, who was bonded with Jaehaerys, Arrax, who bonded with Lucerys, and Caraxes, who bonded with Joffrey. But as we saw, the finale is the first time we see Lucerys and Arrax fly together, because Rhaenyra sent them on a diplomatic mission to speak with Lord Boros Baratheon. Unfortunately, it might be the last time we see them. To Lucerys' misfortune, Aemon got to Lord Baratheon first, and after their meeting, he tried to get revenge on Lucerys for cutting his eye out when they were children. But Boros intervened, which is why Aemon takes to the skies with Vhagar instead. Their chase ultimately leads to Vhagar jumping Lucerys and Arrax, which was an accident, but obviously Rhaenyra isn't going to see it as an accident. Her reaction is the most anticipated thing in the next season of the House of the Dragon. And that's about it. See you in the next one.